some of us in agriculture were surprised that the people who worked on health and nutrition didn't see themselves all as part of the same thing sometimes. It's been an interesting journey, and it's always been the ambition of some of us, particularly in Elsura and A4NH, to get that balance a bit more right. And you can see it's beginning to happen from some of the talks, interesting talks yesterday afternoon about agriculture and disease vectors and so on, and of course the session we've just had on food safety. And I think that the logic of bringing not just agriculture and nutrition, but agriculture, nutrition and health in the sense of disease together is emerging as the research is done by this program and this community and others. And therefore I'm particularly pleased that our closing plenary address is on that more agriculture and health side of things, and will be delivered by Professor Bassirou Bonfoh. Bassirou is a leading figure today in research on the relationship between agriculture and disease, particularly infectious and zoonotic diseases, which move from livestock into humans. He's a veterinarian by training. He has led programs across Africa to establish and validate the concept of One Health, which links agriculture and health, with a particular focus in his research on pastoralist communities. And since 2009, he served as the managing director of the Centre Suisse de Recherche Scientifique in Côte d'Ivoire, and has been the director also of a large and very successful Pan-African program on One Health capacity building called Afrique One. But Bassirou's interests and the program he has developed in his institutions and projects go well beyond zoonotic disease into issues of human health and agricultural productivity and food and diets. So he's particularly well suited to speak to us and to speak across that barrier between nutrition and health, as well as across the agriculture and health one. And I'm very pleased he could come, but I would like just to invite him now to give his keynote presentation entitled, "Is Health and Agriculture Equivalent to the Chicken and Egg Scenario?"
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me to this last session. Sometimes I ask myself the question, is it the right time to exchange ideas? I can say yes. Maybe I'm lucky that the message I will give to you will be the message you will have in mind when you are leaving this room or Accra. When I was invited to give this talk, I went through all the topics and found that it was very difficult to give a way forward. And this morning when I was following the panel, I think the question came. And one of the leading questions is the leadership in whatever we are doing. Everybody tried to pull the leadership, be it those working on agriculture, nutrition, or health. And that's why I took this title, the chicken and egg scenario. As Jeff said, I'm a vet. Chicken and eggs, who is the first? We eat both, isn't it? We advise women to feed children with eggs. We advise to eat proteins. But at the end of the day, the way you eat chicken and eggs can either provide you good health, or if you are unlucky and is contaminated, be it with infectious diseases or other antibiotic residues, you may be also affected. So looking at the chicken and eggs, I will not say who come first, but both are important. We don't need to find who come first. And the question will be maybe to try to find where is God. It's something like that we have to reflect on. Before I move, I just want to share with you a consortium that we are running since now 2 years, funded by a consortium of funders, Wellcome Trust, DFID, the African Academy of Science, which call African Science Partnership for Intervention Research Excellence. And we target our research on science of disease elimination. And one of the topic is foodborne disease and nutritional illness, and how agriculture impacts on health. And this is where we have, since now 2 decades, working on an integrated approach to disease control that everybody is calling One Health. But for us, One Health has become, I can say, a jargon everybody is using. For us, it's very simple. The One Health is the collaboration between sectors and discipline, and which is not enough. When you collaborate, you need to prove that you add a value. And the question is, what do you lose if you don't collaborate between health, nutrition, or agriculture sector? Or what do you gain if you collaborate together? This is One Health. So for us, collaboration is very important, but at the end, we want you to prove that you have an added value. And one of the examples here is, you look at this child in the northern of Mali. You can understand the health of this child if you understand the pastoral system, the security, the mobility of pastoralists, because milk is their staple food. You can also understand how livestock is developed here if you understand the health of those people. Because if you are healthy, you can take livestock and spend 100 kilometers to look for water and pasture. So for us, if you are healthy, then you can conduct your agricultural activities. And if you do agriculture, you can feed yourself directly or use funds or money to buy your food and have a good health. And if I ask you the question in this room, if you look at agriculture, nutrition, and health, we have the A, the N, and the H. Some people can be only A, only N, or only H. But those can have maybe 2 letters. But who are the one having the 3 letters? So if you combine, I will not do the mathematics. See in this room, how many of you have at least 2? We will count a lot. But counting, if you want to know how many of you having H in those 2, maybe it will be few. Everything has to do on the perspective, where we are coming from, our discipline. But at the end of the day, we want to see, or we want to know how best the people can be healthy. We have developed a framework on the determinant of health, saying that the health is the outcome of all the activities that we conduct. We have climate change, which affect crop, the food quantity, and we have the infection, and you can have the disease. And for the disease are the outcome. But if you influence on one actor, you can have the disease. But if you are not also healthy, then the production will come down. And I just want to show you one example of how we link agricultural parameter to the health indicators. It's in Côte d'Ivoire at our health demographics surveillance site that we have tried to see what are the agricultural indicators that we can put to understand health. Because sometimes to capture health indicators is very difficult. And one of the basic for us was, what was the the surface, the area of the plot, the farm plot with the small farmers. And we found that only 1% among the 3,000 households were able to say exactly the surface of their plot. So if you have a farm and you don't know the plot, you will not know how much you will harvest. And that impacts on your revenue. And the revenue also, you will see later that it has a good impact also on the health of people. So for us, we need now, by looking at the health indicators, move up to the agriculture and start developing new indicators to understand health outcomes. And when we have made that exercise, we came that with three major components. The first was the agricultural revenue. If you know the agricultural revenue, you can understand better in the household, or you can link that to the health status of the household. Education also is very important. But what surprised us was the use of pesticide, herbicide, and insecticide in agriculture, which was also linked to the labor. Because of the shortage of labor, they are using more and more those products. And it can have a direct impact on health, or with labor shortage having also the impact. So for us, health, we can see, as I'm saying, you will target me as somebody who is just pushing health as one of the leading aspect or the leading sector. But you cannot look at health issues or health threats without looking at agricultural strategies, as I have just mentioned. And if we look at the agricultural activities, this is now the impact of agriculture on health. You can see that the technologies or the agricultural system, some tend to increase the exposure to health, like rice fields with schistosoma. We have palm trees development with the new vectors that are coming with dengue fever, yellow fever in Ivory Coast. And we are now having the use of some of the insecticides that have been used in agriculture in the public health. If you take, for example, the neonicotinoid, which has been used in agriculture, those formula are now being used in public health. And we know that the resistance is very, very high in those environments. And we need to think about which formula we use to control vectors in public health, because agriculture has already put huge impact on the resistance. That's why integration of intervention is very important. I know that yesterday, or most of the speakers have worked on malaria and health. We did a survey in Côte d'Ivoire also, and we found that health is very important when we consider productivity. And among health, malaria is the leading aspect, beside all the investment that we are having on malaria. So health is very important, and now what we are trying to see is how to involve the private sector or the big producers to invest more in disease control, because they gain a lot in the livestock or crop productivity, but the reinvestment in the health is very, very small. So this is where we want to move into negotiating with the private sector. Another example I want to show you is the TB control. You may be surprised saying what tuberculosis is coming to do here. TB is, you all know TB, HIV, malaria, those are the three big diseases. And TB treatment is free. And we know that in some of the pastoral area, TB prevalence, especially bovine TB, is very high. And in those areas, treating TB is difficult, even if it's free. And we have done the economic analysis to see what prevents the pastoralists to access TB treatment. And we have two factors. The first factor was the modification of their diet. If they have to move from pastoral area to the TB treatment site, they have to change their diet because food is getting expensive. And at the same time, they lose time because they need to hire people for their farm or their livestock. And at the end, you see that without nutritional program for TB control, you lose a lot of people, and you develop also resistance because they start the treatment and they don't finish. So nutritional program is important, and we also need to look at how they can continue their activity. Ebola. You will ask yourself what Ebola have to do in our topic here. During the crisis of Ebola in West Africa, we tried to see, after when Côte d'Ivoire banned the consumption of bushmeat, this was a political decision to reduce the risk to the population. So we tried to see what was the diversification of food, because in some of the regions in Côte d'Ivoire, bushmeat is well consumed. I know that in Ghana also, or in many of the African countries, this main source of protein. And the alternatives were very, very small. And when we analyzed, we saw that the impact of the ban of bushmeat consumption was the malnutrition in children, especially. And the reason was that it was more the fear of repression than the disease. But at the same time, the impact on nutrition was very high. So the question is, in the period of pandemic, we can make decisions, but at the end of the day, if we don't look at the nutrition program to sustain the communities, that can be a bit difficult for them. We have tried also to analyze, we work with ITA in Nigeria to develop some of the variety of yam and cassava. And we found that some of the variety that communities don't like, yam, cassava, which considered as hard cooking because the starch is too hard to cook. We found that those starch were very good for diabetes 2 diet. So using that to produce new products such as bread can help to prevent some of the diseases. So in our research, it's also important to look at the varieties, not in terms of the preference of people, not in terms of financial productivity, but also how this can impact people's health. Another technology that agriculture has developed is the biofortification. We have a huge research on biofortification with vitamin C, iron, zinc, and others. But sometimes when you do epidemiological analysis, you find that the impact on health is linear. People think that, okay, you have a good quantity of vitamin C in the food and it's enough. But you don't know how this food is processed, cooked, until the table of the people. At the end, if you analyze, you may see that deficiency is still there. And we have tried to look at the problem of anemia, and we thought that it was the deficiency was linked to only food component, but the integration with malaria was very, very important. So the influence of malaria was important. But after the intervention program with fortification and malaria treatment, we found that still we have, for example, hemoglobin, which is still very low. And it was through deeper analysis we found that there were inhibitors of the inhibitor of the absorption of iron and hemoglobin due to high level of polyphenol and phytates. And we have also big influence with the low consumption of fruits and protein. I think most of you have said that we don't consume a lot of fruits and protein in our diet. If you advise the biofortification, I think there is a need to also introduce a training package on what to add to this package. I just want to come back to the labor aspect, which is also important. When you look at our rural area today, we don't have manpower. It's only old people struggling with their farm. And aging is becoming very and loan to farmers. And at the end, they found that free distribution of bed net had higher impact than even giving loan to farmers. So meaning that sometimes when we are designing intervention, it's also important to think of other aspects of other sector intervention, not only looking at the agriculture, the loan, the technique, the technology, and the equipment for agriculture production, but also looking at intervention on health to improve agriculture development. The last experience I want to show you here is linked to non-communicable diseases. This is a fresh study. We have just analyzed the data in our health demographic surveillance site in Tabo, and we found that in rural area, the emergence of non-communicable diseases is becoming very, very high. We have the diabetes and pre-diabetes, which is important, which is in red, and hypertension and pre-hypertension also that we found very alarming, combined with malaria infection. So this is not for us the big issue concerning our topic here. The issue is that when we analyze the cost of hypertension treatment in those areas, is almost half of the revenue, the basic revenue of the household that they have to use to treat hypertension. And if you see that with the loss of days in the farm, the cost of the treatment, you may see the impact that this can have into agriculture production. So non-communicable diseases also should be considered in our approach to agriculture development. And one thing we are trying now to work in Africa, especially in Ghana, we have a PhD student here in Ghana to work on mental health. The India experience has shown how suicide increased with the agricultural problem and mental health. And the mental health issue is not considered in our context, and sometimes we don't consider that as a public health issue. It's becoming a very big public health issue, especially when people lose their yield, when they have drought, they have flood, and they lose their product. There's big problem, and this is an area we need to look also when we talk about the link between agriculture, health, and nutrition. In conclusion, you will see that, as I said at the beginning, we have a fragmentation of topics, sectors, disciplines. We also have a fragmentation of approaches and methodologies. But what we need to do is to put the risk, all the risks into context and to consider the context of risk, if you are from nutrition side, health side, or agriculture side. And we need to start building our capacity in system thinking because we have a unique target. You go to the farm, to the household, they are the same people. The health sector will come and provide their advice. Agriculture extension service will come and provide their advice. Nutrition people will come and provide their advice. They are the same people. So we need to join information and knowledge to target those people or having a joint extension services. And the last thing to consider is not only looking at the market information, sometimes health information can inform on how to design agriculture system. And as you see in this picture, I don't remember the lady who was in the panel to talk, the best people to talk to on agriculture, health, nutrition are women. Our life, our future health depend on how healthy was our mothers, how healthy was our food, and how was our behavior when we were growing up, and what is the behavior now. This is where we need to target our intervention. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to this session, and also thank the donors who helped Africa One aspire for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for a stimulating discussion. If we thought we were on the edges of interdisciplinarity, I think we've just pushed that boundary a little bit, haven't we? So any questions or comments from the floor?
You indicated that there is a shift to use of pesticide because we don't have labor, the shortage of labor. We all know that in Africa, population is a real problem, and we think there is some labor, and again, we may say that these people, young men and others, are going to cities and all these places, but we don't think all of them are there. So they should be in the rural and doing some agricultural activities or somewhere there. I don't know your experience in relation to your presentation. How is it? Where are these people, all this population, where are they and what are they doing? Because I think they are there.
Yeah, I want to agree with him that youth labor are actually in the rural areas. It is just that we are not concentrating on them. We are talking about sending youth from town back to the farm, but we haven't gone out to the communities there to really find out who are the youth there whom we can support. And I think that has been a problem. But my real contribution was on the health, the mental health. I'm very, very happy that you brought that up, because we had a situation where, not actually but from Agric itself, through loans, through giving credit. You give credit to farmers, especially women. For some reason, they cannot pay. And it looks like that's affecting their mental health. I don't know too much. I'm not a medical person. But at least I know of a situation where somebody committed suicide because he got a loan from an NGO, and the NGO normally gives loan in kind, and tries to get the produce back. And when he realized that what he produced couldn't pay the loan, and the NGO was insisting that he must pay, he just had to commit suicide. So these are the kinds of things that I believe even our activities at agriculturists are causing mental health to people, especially in the rural areas, and particularly women. So I was really very happy that you brought that up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the objective of this exercise is not maybe to deeply explain, is just to tell you that if you are in agricultural extension, don't look at only productivity. Look at also inside the household what is happening in their social life. Sometimes you can find a lot that come, or the impact of your intervention on the people. And it's becoming a very big problem, the mental health, which we are not seeing. If you don't go to the communities, ask, you will not be able to see. In Europe, it's very easy to go to the psychiatric to expose your problem, but in Africa, rarely we have this kind of situation, and people just interiorize their problem, and they end up developing other diseases due to stress and things. Coming back to the label, I think from here I did not catch very well. If you look at herbicide, we are using the indicator of the quantity of herbicide to see how much labor people have. And when you go into the household, you will find out those who are using a lot of herbicide, those are the household where they have less people, less manpower. So having that indicator, you can guess that this household, with the cost of herbicide, with the shortage of labor, at the end, the yield will be too small to sustain their living. This is the explanation we want to give here. And the same thing applies to insecticide. They don't make no effort to understand what kind of insecticide to use, because there are also lack of knowledge and lack of training, as it has been said this morning.
Thank you very much, Bassirou. I
Welcome.
think you've broadened the agenda a bit, and I'm hoping in future Academy meetings we'll see more and more thinking about the agriculture, nutrition, and health interaction. Thanks
Thank you.
again.
Welcome.